Hi folks, welcome to your Gersnet immediate post-match reaction pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Alec Anderson and I'm speaking to you from the room next to the one in which I've just watched Rangers thrown away 2 points, drawn one each with Aberdeen at Pittodrie in the noon SPFL Premiership kick-off this Sunday, the 26th of November. Rangers dropping 2 points, failing to gain ground on Celtic in the title race after that chance had been presented to them yesterday. Did you get the cold snap yesterday? Did you get the frost where you are? I'm in Glasgow, lovely sunny day, but my God, it was cold, and I had that feeling that I've had at this time of year for probably the previous 54 years of my life. I thought, yeah, Christmas is on the horizon. Everybody's getting the presents in, getting the grub, the drink. It's going to be great fun. There's a few nights out planned, and even television, even watching the telly, it's all kind of communal. We're all giving thanks to Santa for saving the world. And by the time you get to Christmas Day, the shortest day of the year is past. It's usually the 22nd or 23rd December, the shortest day of the year. So we're practically in summer. No, it's just clear enjoyment all the way through to Christmas, and then you're practically the nights are getting shorter, the days are getting longer. We've done it. We've got through winter, and then I find myself out in the pitch black at 7 o'clock in the morning, try to use a hacksaw to get sheet ice off the windscreen just so I can get to Morrison's for a pint of milk, and I think I've got ahead of myself again. I've got too far ahead of myself again. There's a lot more work to be done here before we get through this depressing state of affairs that is winter, and I think we're starting to think the same thing under Philippe Clement, particularly at tea time yesterday, when, having already gained 2 points on Celtic in his short time at the club, Philippe Clement was presented with a chance to gain another 2 points on Celtic, taking games in hand out of the equation. With Celtic drawn 1-1 with Motherwell at Parkhead, bit of a surprise result. Didn't happen, and so the backlash will start. I don't think Philippe Clement isn't going to be getting it in the neck just now. I think from what I've seen already on Rangers Twitter, it's the Rangers players, this deadwood, these losers, these guys who's won a league title, one got to a European final, one is the Scottish Cup, got us into the Champions League for the first time since we were in the lower leagues, but they're all losers again. We need to get rid of them, even though the ones we've brought into the place, the ones we got rid of at the end of last season, Morelos and Kent and all that, we're needing to get rid of them as well. You know, Dessers and Lammers, they have to go, and I think so. The fans got us through. They got us through that game against Sparta Prague by getting right behind the team because they're right on board with Clement, and everybody loved everybody again. Next European game at Ibrox on Thursday night against Aris Limassol. If we're no 3-0 up at half time, I think you'll find that mood has slightly changed. Going to be a bit more tetchy very quickly on Thursday night, because people, it's that thing that's happening with Rangers just now. When we get a new manager in, it's the third season in a row, and Craig and I were talking about this in the preview pod the other night. The problem with the preview pod is it means you have to preview stuff. You predict stuff. Craig and I both predicting a 2-goal win for Rangers today. So we've both totally got that one wrong, but there was a lot we're talking. We're very careful to talk about the fact that everything in the garden seems rosy just now, but one slip and it won't be. And Craig was saying that the problems that have been there haven't gone away. He's meaning certain players, what have you. We didn't get into it in big style. Maybe Craig's got problems with the board or whatever as well. I don't know. I'm not going to quote him there. He's on the main pod tonight, the flagship show. He'll no doubt be letting you know exactly what's angering him. But I feel as if we don't want to jump the gun too soon. We don't want to get in there and just lash out at everybody. I did know this was going to happen. There's going to be a slip up along the way. We thought we were going to gain points in Celtic today, but the only thing at the top of the table, the only thing we've actually gained on them is the penalties awarded table. We're getting closer. We're almost catching them in the league. But I think maybe when the dust has settled, we'll look, instead of looking at the order of the games, Celtic slip up on the Saturday, so we slip up on the Sunday. That's us failing to take advantage. That's worse, even though we've got the same number of points. But you'll look at the fact, the fixtures, rather than the order of the fixtures, the actual fixtures themselves. Celtic are, they've taken the lead against Motherwell. So they've taken the lead against Motherwell at Parkhead with, 6 minutes to go? And they've ended up drawing the game. That's pretty unexpected. Rangers, rightly or wrongly, have got a problem at Pittodrie. We don't lose a lot there, but we do have these draws. We have these draws. The draws will kill you. And we do get a lot of draws at Pittodrie. But we've lost the early goal today, and we've come back and kind of salvaged it. We got better as the game went on rather than going backwards, and it's a much more difficult fixture for us. I say, rightly or wrongly, whether it should be or shouldn't, it's all Aberdeen are usually relegation fodder, but it's historically a problem fixture for us, and we've gone there. We've gained the same amount of points this weekend as Celtic, and we've done it with a much harder fixture, I think, for us anyway. It's a much harder fixture. I know Motherwell playing better than Aberdeen this season, but Aberdeen are also involved in I'm actually bumming up Aberdeen here, I don't believe it. They're involved in a European campaign for the first time in ages, an actual group stage. I know they're already out of Europe, but they're not used to it, and it's having a toll on them. But they beat us earlier this season as well. But anybody could have beaten us that day, and even that day they had to absorb a lot of pressure in the first half. Aberdeen before they eventually just started finishing off Michael Beale, but any side. Motherwell nearly did it a couple of weeks beforehand, so it could have been anybody that day. You can almost take that one out of the equation. But I think, and we'll look at the fact that Rangers have come back from a bad start and we've actually equalised late on today, salvaged something from the game instead of slipping further behind Celtic in the title race, which we would have done if we'd actually lost. So I don't think it's as bad as you might want to make out. It's one of those times, the best lack of conviction, the worst are full of passionate intensity. I know it's pseudo-intellectuals, people trying to seem cleverer than they are. Always quote W.B. Yeats, the second coming. And that line is just a kind of, a warning. It's an early way of expressing the whole Dunning-Kruger thing that stupid people are always much more certain of themselves because they're too stupid to realise how stupid they are. And it's also a more poetic way of putting the whole kind of Bertrand Russell thing about, idiots are always cocksure and intelligent people, know to be uncertain because they know exactly how unintelligent they are. I find that people want certainty, they want anger, they want there's a simple solution to every problem. I think I was hinting at this in Friday's preview pod, and I daren't do more than hint at it because it's a crackpot theory. But I feel as if we go to Parkhead and we're winning all our games up until we go to Parkhead. They're waiting for us. Celtic are waiting for us on the 30th of December. Now, it won't matter, of course, if we're dropping points every other league game. We'll need to go to Parkhead just to retain some self-respect. Need to go there and win just to kind of retain self-respect, to avoid relegation, maybe. Never mind to go top of the table. But I think Parkhead on the 30th of December isn't so much a 6-pointer, it's a 9-pointer. If Rangers can go there and win, what that would do to Celtic, how that would undermine them. Because even though we've slipped up today, it will still annoy Celtic fans watching that. We'll still be thinking, Rangers are going to get beat, or they've equalised again. And like, sometimes it's the draw that you salvage that ends up being the one that, that makes the difference. I remember under Barry Ferguson missing the 2 penalties at Dens Park. Was that 2002-2003 season? Arteta scored their 3rd penalty of the game. Yes, Peter Lawwell, Rangers were awarded 3 penalties when we needed them. And we only drew, I think it was 2-each with Dundee that day, and it was like, it was a neck and neck title race. But it turns out that point was the one that made all the difference. We won the league that season on goal difference. If we hadn't gained a point that day, that wouldn't have been on at all. And it's the same today. I'm hoping it's going to be the same today, but I feel as if the tensions that are already existing internally at Parkhead, with Brendan Rodgers not being universally popular, and the tensions with the Green Brigade and their Palestinian loyalties or whatever, I think there's a chance that Rangers going to Parkhead and winning on the 30th of December would completely derail Celtic. It would be worth much more than the 3 points we're actually gaining on the day. But I think because Celtic, their DNA just now, is, whether we like it or not, it's about winning titles. It's about winning trophies. They've won 4 trebles, 5 trebles in the last 7 seasons. So we're not at that point again yet. We've not returned to that. We're maybe going to gouge out a title one year, a cup the following year, and hopefully it's going to be a League Cup. For 3 years, calendar years in the trot, we'll win a single domestic trophy before we can get to that point of winning lots of trophies. But I think for us to go to Parkhead and do the business, we almost need to kind of ambush Celtic. Don't be the team to beat. It will suit them. It will suit the pressure being on us. It will suit the expectation being on us, as it was today, and we slipped up. But that's maybe a bit of a reach. What I'm effectively saying there is, I didn't want Rangers to win today. Yes, I did. And you're quite right to be angry about it. I think we're just got to be careful how far we take that anger. The thing I'm seeing today is Rangers, you think, Aberdeen, why are they putting us off? Why are we being put off by the fact that Aberdeen are trying harder? It shouldn't make any difference. Aberdeen aren't trying harder than us. Aberdeen are just trying hard for the first time in a few months. Get stuck into them, get ripped into them. I'm tweeting the boys in the WhatsApp group, get into them, let's get into them. Rangers in the 2020 don't get into Aberdeen, they go through them, they go between them, they go over the top of them, they go round about them. The way we play in 2020 is it's not about hard tackles and what have you. That's just more Aberdeen players are getting booked because that's all they have. That's all they know how to do to raise their game. They have to start fouling, putting themselves about, try to get in the referee's face, shinny, try to wind up our players as well. That's all they've got in their locker. And the reason we end up with 69% possession in that game today, the reason Aberdeen can't get out their box in the whole second half, is because they don't have the stamina. They're not used to trying on all fronts. They're not used to trying all the time. And that's what will happen to you. It's not in your legs. And Rangers haven't been used to trying for all of this season. Michael Beale was stymieing them. And I don't know what he did in pre-season, but they were more knackered at the start of this season than they were at the end of last season. So Rangers are getting used to that as well. So this is a wee slip up today. And it gives the manager a chance to get everybody on the training ground tomorrow and get a few home truths aired again. A wee kind of reset before we get right into the approach to the game at Parkhead, and it's got to be wins all the way before then now, and I think we can still do that now and not be seen as being the favourites to win that game at Parkhead. So let's not get too OTT the criticism today. Look, I remember being utterly raging at Walter Smith in 1998, 25 years ago. Walter Smith, would he know about managing Rangers? Because as far as I was concerned, he'd blown 10 in a row by going to Pittodrie. We'd beaten Celtic at Ibrox, the hard bit. The title rivals, beating Celtic at Ibrox 2-0 the previous Sunday, and here we were against an Aberdeen team. I mean, Roy Aitken was the manager. There were certainly Aberdeen in that era were only staying in the top flight because of league reconstruction and because Falkirk couldn't get an all-seater stadium. Falkirk couldn't reconstruct Brockville. They were absolutely terrible, and yet here they were costing us the title effectively, and it's us that cost ourselves the title. But if you're trying to tell me that Walter Smith didn't know what to expect at Pittodrie, that's bogus. Same thing today. Alec Ray is in their technical staff just now. You've got even these players that a lot of us are thinking right now are losers, Goldson, Tavernier. I mean, they've been going to Pittodrie for a few years. They know what to expect. I don't think that the players were blown away by the atmosphere today. I think more a chance of like Sima, Danilo, Cifuentes playing at Pittodrie for the first time in their life. They're just trying to find their bearings. They're trying to find their feet. What's this all about? Not skating. The stands were like 2/3 full at best. I didn't hear a lot of noise coming across the telly for most of that game. So I think it's just, I'm playing at noon in this place called Aberdeen. That slow start, which is unprofessional, which is criminal, and the manager himself has said that's what's cost us. That's what's cost us all 3 points today. But that's just down to a lack of familiarity. Aberdeen, I'm morbidly obese, right? As you might say, I am morbidly obese. I can lose a stone by farting. I can lose 2 stone by walking to the fridge and back a bit quicker than usual. So, I mean, I constantly get compliments from people. When I go through these little phases of losing a bit of weight, people, oh, you're looking well, big man, you're looking good. Oh, you've lost weight. Because I've gone from morbidly obese to mildly obese, merely obese. Whereas I've got mates who've been like, not pencil thin, but slim their entire life. Guys who are older than me and have been slim into their 60s from the day they were born into their 60s. And nobody ever compliments them on the fact that they've stayed slim their entire life. Rangers are the slim, good-looking guy. We don't get the compliments from people. It's not a surprise if we're doing anything else, we're trying harder. Aberdeen are that fat git who's had a tuna salad for his lunch one day and he lost it instead of chips. He's lost a bit of weight, but he's just going to pile it on. He's got the compliments, but he's going to pile it on at Christmas, putting our 4 stone on, and we're back to being his same slob self. We are top 2 in the league for most of the last 40 years, Rangers. We're constantly playing at a level. We're beating far more teams in Scotland than we ever slip up against. So we don't want Rangers to change their way. We don't want Rangers to start fouling, and we'd be sinking to Aberdeen's level to play that kind of game, especially, as I say, in the 2020s, when we play an expansive, kind of technical type of game. And what it is about Rangers having the guts to impose that style, to keep playing that way in the face of the angry onslaught we get from the Sheep Warriors. And we failed to do that only for, I would say, the first 12 minutes today, and that was enough to cost us 2 points. The team selection, the lineup, only 3 changes from the team we put out against Livingston in the last game before the international break. Craig was saying on the Friday pod, he was worried about Cifuentes going in beside. Because with no Jack, no Raskin, Cifuentes going to go in beside John Lundstrom in that sitting 2. It was reminding Craig of James Sand's debut at Pittodrie under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, a game that we drew 1 each. So it was proved absolutely spot on. Although I think Craig himself has been saying on the WhatsApp group that Cifuentes wasn't our worst player today. He did well to last the entire game. but he's not been playing regularly. He's not been getting a game under a manager who doesn't seem to fancy him so far, so he's not get the game time in his legs, and I think he's picked up a bit of an injury while he was away in international duty or something like that, so he wasn't fully fit, but it turns out he wasn't the worst in the part today. We then have Danilo, he's starting instead of Dessers up front, so that's fine with everybody, and Ross McCausland has dropped for Todd Cantwell. Who thought we'd be saying that? Todd Cantwell wasn't going in at 10 today. Tom Lawrence maintained his place at number 10, and I don't know if it's Sam Lammers that's the problem. I think it might be the number 10 role at Ibrox that's the problem, because Tom Lawrence had a Sam Lammers kind of game, especially for the first half today. He actually did, at one point, he beat 2 or 3 guys in the middle of the park and then knocked the ball straight out. And straight out of play, almost straight to an Aberdeen player. And he was having the moment where he's having a shot low, the keeper's got down and saving it really well, but he also got dispossessed kind of deep in the Aberdeen half. It shouldn't have been a problem, but with one pass there, 4 minutes into the game, they're in behind our defence with one ball, in behind Balogun and Goldson, who had his socks kind of low slung today. There was white tape at the bottom of the socks. Connor Goldson, he was giving me the fear just with that look, apart from anything else, not like him. But that was it. Aberdeen, I don't know if it was Majowski or the guy. What's the guy's name? It's Locking Sockler. It's a kind of anagram of SK Lokeren. There's RSK Lokeren, that team that Jim Betty, who played for Rangers and Aberdeen, and we've got a Belgian manager. This whole thing was going on in my head, where that was a kind of anagram of Lokeren, and this guy's name was Sockler or whatever it was. And then it's almost like Connor Goldson and Leon Balogun were going through the same thing in their head, because they weren't watching the defence, the sitting midfield, nowhere to be seen. We're totally split open with that. Jack Butland, fantastic save, and you're thinking, well, that's actually good. 4 minutes in, they've woken up. That'll get the cobwebs out their eyes. That'll let the de-icer kick in. We're going to be fine now. But no, their goalkeeper, he knocks a by kick. Knocks a by kick up to their 2 strikers, their twin strikers up front. One comes deep and flicks it on. The other one runs onto the flick on. It's like schoolboy stuff. It's just ABC. I watch a lot of non-league football. They'd be embarrassed. They would be embarrassed at the bottom tier of the West of Scotland. The bottom rung of the West of Scotland League would be embarrassed to concede a goal like that. Absolute basics. They've got the ball between our sitting 2 and our back 4, and the boy just flicks it on. And Sockler flicks it on. Majowski, the Macedonian, the North Macedonian, he gets through and he tucks it away neatly past Jack Butland. 1-0 to Aberdeen after 12 minutes. And again, you're thinking, right, okay, that's properly woken us up now, surely. And we did start playing our way into the game. Lawrence and Cantwell combining at times down the kind of more to the right hand side, even though Lawrence was in that 10 position, not getting a lot of joy. Better stuff from Sima and Danilo, who seem to be combining. Sima obviously is coming from the left, and yeah, there were a lot of lovely one-touch stuff, kind of taking the ball and turning all in one movement. You're thinking, yeah, they're getting back into it. They're getting their groove back. They're going to eventually get that goal, but it wasn't happening. Their goalkeeper, Aberdeen's goalkeeper, was having one of those games. You thought he's done a lot of good saves. A good save early on from Lawrence down to his left-hand post, turning one round for a corner, and when Todd Cantwell played one at the back post, we didn't have anybody on that. Another good save that I can't quite remember. But we had the worst one in the first half, from our point of view, was Leon Balogun had pretty much not point blank range, but a really good chance. He should have been heading it into the net. He did head it downwards, but their goalkeeper had a great save, and then John Lundstrom couldn't do anything with the follow-up. Todd Cantwell was just trying to dive in the box. Just wasn't happening for Todd Cantwell. I thought today, the debate will go on whether he should be in at 10 if we're getting the best out of him by having the right-hand side of that 3 up front. But it wasn't happening at half-time, but in the approach to the half-time, Aberdeen players were already going down with strains and knocks, and they weren't acting it. They were feeling the strain. One of them was kind of semi-concussed in an accidental clash with Danilo. And you're thinking, yeah, they're starting to struggle already. They're not used to putting in this level of effort. It's a big deal for Aberdeen to be in a European group stage this season. And this is what happens. Aberdeen, once European Cup Winners' Cup champions, are now delighted to be getting knocked early out of the Conference League. We're trying to win. We're in European finals and stuff like that. If this is the price of that, I'm happy that we're honestly trying on all fronts against an Eintracht Frankfurt, who are copping out domestically so they can do well enough to win a European trophy on penalties, or against a Celtic who are copping out in European terms, absolutely woeful record in Europe over the last 20 years for Celtic, so they can keep winning the domestic trophies. That will keep letting them get beat by 6 goals in the Champions League group stage like what we did last season, because that's more money for Peter Lawwell to keep his shareholders happy. So don't let's panic too much about today. I think Rangers are taking that breath. They're just constantly trying out new managers, I know, but we're going to get there. The second half today, I was expecting much more from us. We applied ourselves much better. No changes, but we applied ourselves much better. The intensity was there, the focus was there, but we just couldn't get the joy. And I thought we started doing that thing again. It's crept in a few times under Philip Clement, where we're putting balls to the back post and there's nobody there. And Danilo was coming out of the game. Sima wasn't having the effect he was having. Didn't seem to be putting the effort in making the runs that he was making in the first half. So there was definitely a bit of a problem there. It was about 70 minutes, I think. Aberdeen brought on Dante, and I'm determined to enjoy myself today. So a minute after they brought on Dante, we brought on Emilio Fabro. That's a wee T.S. Eliot reference there, a T.S. Eliot reference about Dante. And Dante is referencing something, not Dante the writer, the old writer, he's referencing somebody else. So that's a really clever reference there. If only Rangers were as clever as me today. We brought on Rabbi Matondo, who is the better craftsman, Emilio Fabro. And I know Craig, again, your host tonight on the Gersnet main podcast, he was very keen for Rangers to have more width. We should be going with the wingers. And shortly after that, Ross McCausland comes on as well, eventually in the game. And we seem to be getting more and more pressure as we went a bit wider. I'm feeling perhaps that early on in the game we need Sima, who's been famous under Philip Clement for his work rate, particularly that game over in Prague. So you need a bit more maturity, a bit more defensive ability there. And Ross McCausland, he's in his 20s now, he's not like a young boy. But he's relatively inexperienced when it comes to the first team, and maybe Clement had taken heed of the warnings coming from everybody for the last 2 weeks. Chris Boyd on our 24-hour sports broadcast channel telling everybody that Aberdeen will try harder against Rangers than they did against Celtic. There's no excuse for him not knowing, so he's maybe thought this is too much for McCausland, who's just back from his first ever time playing for his country, the full team for Northern Ireland. So I think maybe we'd softened Aberdeen up by that point, so we're getting more joy. But Matondo, who's not been playing recently, so he's lacking match fitness, but he started getting more joy down that left-hand side. Ross McCausland's on the right-hand side. We're stretching them. We're getting a bit more pressure. And Sam Lammers comes on as well. And we get that penalty. And that's what's going to happen when a team is as tired as Aberdeen were, because they're not used to trying. They pull the jersey in the box. I think it was like the end of the 89th minute that the foul actually happens, a corner for Rangers. It's, I think, the 91st minute, I think, maybe when the referee gets the word to go and check it out on the monitor. And it's maybe the 93rd minute before he awards the penalty. And it's the 95th minute, or 94th minute anyway, before Tav sticks it away. And you have that situation again where Rangers haven't been a goal down early on in a game and still been a goal down at half-time when Celtic have slipped up in their fixture that weekend. We couldn't quite do it as we did against Hearts at Ibrox and turn it around completely. But you've got James Tavernier equalising with a penalty right at the death. And I've got the thing with VAR. It's kind of VAR stands for kind of Deus Ex Machina as far as a lot of people are concerned. Managers who are raging like Barry Robson, and also pundits who are struggling to actually put together proper analysis and just create controversy, plastic controversy instead, because that's what everybody wants to watch these days. Apparently people falling out on television, grown men arguing with each other. So you had this whole thing where I don't know who it's out. It's all a miasma to me. I'm just like, who is talking rubbish now in the Sky studio, and Barry Robson as well, where they're saying, when you've got to take that amount of time, you've got to take that amount of time at the monitor, as the referee did when he was asked to go and look at it. That's obviously not a clear and obvious. It can't be a clear and obvious error, therefore it's not a penalty. But simultaneously they're saying, why is he not checking out that block? Checking out the block that Lammers is supposed to have perpetuated a block on an Aberdeen player as well, and that would cancel out the need for a penalty. So the guy's obviously checking out both those things. And he's probably, Nick Walsh, when he's looking at the monitor, and he's got Aberdeen supporters practically hanging over the monitor, calling them all the, DOBs, current buns of the day, telling them that they probably don't want a penalty to be awarded to Rangers. And he's going to have Peter Lawwell's voice in his head going, oh, penalty to Rangers, penalty to Rangers. Rangers are always getting penalties. And that's probably the big debates coming for Nick Walsh, but it's just, you can't avoid the fact that he's had his shirt pulled. Barry Robson's saying Conor Golson had his shirt pulled by an Aberdeen defender in the box. He dived. I think Sutton was saying, Conor Golson dived. Yes, he did. Conor Golson did dive. After he'd had his shirt pulled in the box. It's just, he's trying to let the referee see that there's been a foul. He's trying to draw attention to it, but that's not a foul. That doesn't then cancel out the fact he's been fouled when he embellishes his fall. So that's not got anything to do with anything. And Barry Robson saying, what's it coming to? If we're going to give fouls for that, what's it coming to? It's coming to what it is. It's coming to the situation where we're giving fouls for that. We're looking for consistency from referees. So they've said, see if you pull somebody's shirt in the box, it's a foul. It's going to be a penalty. And that's what happened. So it's not coming to anything. It's like, what's happening when you don't know that that's going to be a penalty if you perpetuate that in your own box. A lot of false controversy, and I was just worried. The only thing I was worried about was if Tav put it away or not. Did you notice? Did you get the wee heart attack when we scored the penalty? I think Nick Walsh was blown up for. We're trying to get the ball back. Tav's trying to get the ball off their goalie so we can reset and try and get a goal quickly, try and get a winner, or maybe it's something to do with the celebrations. I don't know. But Nick Walsh is blowing his whistle. I thought he's asked for a retake. He's going to ask for a retake. No, didn't happen. We got the equaliser. But just when you're thinking this puts a better shine on things, the fact that we've done the equalising. Rather than Aberdeen equalising late on, we dropped the points that way. That's at least some consolation that we're the team who've rose to the challenge of our own ineptitude kind of thing. We've tried to take responsibility for it, and we've put on more pressure. Just when you're thinking, this could be framed as a good result, or not as bad a result as you think, Sam Lammers has to get a chance. And I think, it's straight after we scored the goal, straight after we've got the penalty. And was it Matondo? I think went down the left-hand side. Ball goes into the box and Sam Lammers just nods it straight into the goalkeeper's arms when it's just easier to score. As far as I'm concerned, nod it a bit more down the way, nod it a bit more to either side. It's going to be a goal. But the one thing I will say is I hadn't seen a Rangers striker getting on the end of a cross into the box for that entire second half. We'd had the moment where Tom Lawrence shaped a beautiful, maybe 72 minutes just after Matondo come on, he shapes a beautiful volley, comes off the post, and Leon Balogun from a corner, good header this time. He did well to get on the end of it, but maybe want him to make more of it again. He hits it onto the bar. So as Craig's saying, we needed a bit more width, and when the width happened, it definitely. We definitely started putting the pressure on, and it was rewarded. There was nothing undue happening there. Rangers getting that penalty. That's what happens when you put the ball into the opposition box. Lots of times you're going to get a goal, you're going to get penalties. This is what happens, and that's what we did today. And nobody's going to be happy about it in Rangers land. But I think we need to kind of hold our horses before we start asking for players to be, publicly executed or whatever. Let's just wait and see how it goes from here on in, and if we learn from this slip up, which I say could have been a lot worse. Tonight, Tottenham could have been a lot worse. Nobody could be worse than this pod I've just put out. Sorry, guys. Absolutely, I just don't know. Really, really kind of thrown out by that today. I think it's the international break and so much optimism built up, and then you go back to, we're struggling against Aberdeen and Pittodrie. It really messes with your head. I know it's been frustrating for all of us, but much better than this pod will be the main pod tonight, 9:30. Please join Craig. He's always great value, and two other boys. Grant, new guy to the pod, he's fantastic as well, and David Fraser, who's absolutely brilliant, and he hates when I blow smoke up his arse, but he's absolutely great to listen to. So get onto that, and the boys will try and put a bit more shine on this turd than I can, and they'll definitely not be missing anybody. Thanks, folks. It's going to get better.